You're listening to the Healthy in Real Life podcast, episode number 191. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. This is Gina, creator of the Fitnessista blog and brand. I'm so excited that you're here today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I can't wait for today's episode. Before we dive in, I have a favor to ask you. If you wouldn't mind just hitting pause, leaving that 5-star review wherever you're listening today, it really helps with the visibility of the podcast. It helps me to continue to book the amazing guests that you hear each week, and it also just gives me warm fuzzies and some motivation to keep going. I've been doing this here for 7 years now, so your support means everything to me, and I love connecting with our community in this way, and also the ability to interact with these amazing guests that you hear on the show. So if you enjoy it, if you wouldn't mind leaving that 5-star review, I'd appreciate it so much. And then you can head to fitnessista.com/podcast review, so fitnessista.com/podcast review, and I'll get you a copy of my bar blast workout for free. Just a little thank you from me to you. So today I wanted to tell you guys about Loombox. So if you're looking for a portable red light option, I can't recommend it enough. I use this thing every single day. I love it for a little mood boost. I use the regular red light setting, and I think it's great for skin and energy. And like I said, it gives me a little boost in the morning, and I just like to set it up on my desk. I also like it for aches and pains, inflammation. I had a sore back and I put it on my back the other day, and then it felt great afterwards. There are so many studies about the benefits of red light therapy, and we're just going to continue to hear more and more about it, but they've shown benefits for healthy skin as far as acne, scars, inflammatory skin conditions go, wound healing, appearance of cellulitis, which is huge, especially when paired with exercise, pain and inflammation from things like arthritis, autoimmune conditions, fibromyalgia, neck pain, tendinitis, recovery and performance in athletes, muscle soreness, athletic performance, also studied benefits when it comes to hair, glucose regulation, and so much more. Rest and relaxation, energy and mood. I can't say enough great things about it. It's portable. It's really well constructed, so it feels sturdy. It feels nice to hold. It covers more surface area. It has red and near infrared lights on it. It's a low EMF, which is so important. Some of these cheaper red light devices are actually very high in EMFs, which I try to avoid. So definitely check it out. I have a link in my show notes, and you can enter the code Fitnessista at checkout. So FITNESSISTA, and that's going to save you $260. So head to the link in my show notes, check out Loombox, get one for yourself, enter the code Fitnessista, and save $260. All right, friends, let's head into today's episode with Monica Cox. I loved talking with her so much, and we're talking about fertility, which is something, fertility struggles affect so many women now, miscarriages. My heart goes out to you if you are experiencing this. She has a lot of really incredible tips and a really amazing story, and I'm so glad to have her on the show today. So we talk about tips for healing fertility, also the mental aspects of infertility and the emotional impacts, her tips for being healthy in real life, and so much more. So here's a little bit more about Monica. So she is the woman midlife professionals call when they've blown $50,000 on fertility treatments that failed them. She helps women who have tried everything finally understand what their body actually needs to get and stay pregnant without burning themselves out with endless protocols, diets, and treatments. She's raw and honest about fertility struggles that 1 in 6 couples face. She helps professional women finally get pregnant by addressing what conventional medicine misses: the gut fertility connection, cellular inflammation, and those subconscious blocks no one's talking about. So she has an amazing no BS approach and methodology to transform fertility from a clinical nightmare into an empowering journey. She has so many great tips. I loved talking with her. I hope you enjoy today's episode. Thank you for being here. Let's head into the show. Welcome to the show, Monica.
Welcome to the Healthy in Real Life podcast, bite-sized tips for healthy living that you can implement right now. Join us weekly for interviews and real-life advice for creating the happiest and healthiest version of yourself. Here's your host, fitness expert, author, and mom of 2, Gina Harney.
Hey, Monica. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so excited for this conversation. I feel like it's so relevant right now. Would you just mind sharing some more about yourself and your background and what you do to help women with their fertility struggles?
Yeah, so like a lot of women out there, and probably similar to a lot of health journeys, you think you're kind of normal and fit, and you're getting on with life. Maybe you're doing a little research, and you feel like you're doing all the right things, and then all of a sudden you get slapped with a diagnosis, and you're kind of told, well, there's nothing you can do about it. And for me, about 15 years ago, it just didn't sit right. I was like, nah, that just doesn't make sense that I'm 30 years old. You're telling me that I have low egg quality and there's nothing I can do. Just keep trying IVF. And so I just went on a different path, and I started getting curious, like I think a lot of us are now, about what things can I control in my life around diet and stress and lifestyle that can improve my situation. And probably like a lot of your listeners, there's actually a lot that I have found that you can control, maybe a little bit too much knowledge. But, I had a really long journey. It was 8 years until I got pregnant naturally. And during that time, there wasn't amazing podcasts like this one. Instagram wasn't being used as really a health and wellness platform. It was very, you shared your pictures and, and that's all that it was. And so the search was long, but it was really worth it to understand that, our bodies are amazing. They're healing machines. And that if you can find the right path for yourself, whether that be in diet, lifestyle, energetics, any kind of modality, find the right thing that really sets your soul on fire and what you need, you can radically, change your situation and improve your health at any age. So, that's what I'm here doing, just alongside everyone else, just trying to navigate this, pretty toxic world we live in on so many levels, and, showing up for myself in different ways and learning and growing. And hopefully, a lot of people listening to this will, get a little bit of nugget of knowledge to help them on their journey, because sometimes it can just be so overwhelming and all consuming.
Yes, absolutely. And just to hear that you're not alone too, and there are other people who have struggled with similar things and come out the other side. The decrease in fertility in our culture is something that is so harrowing and terrifying to me. It's just, you hear about it all the time. Women who can't get pregnant or stay pregnant, they're having multiple miscarriages. I feel like it's something I used to rarely hear about. And now, like, we can all think of friends or ourselves that it's happened to multiple times. For yourself, what are some of the key pieces that you think really helped you on your journey?
Yeah, well, if we can start thinking about fertility as a cellular health issue, right? So anyone who has a structural issue or a genetic issue that cannot be influenced by functional medicine, most of us are dealing with a cellular health issue, whether that be in our uterus, in our ovaries, in our gut health, in our thyroid, in our endocrine system. We're really looking at an issue of genetics, right? Our genes being switched on or off by our environment, and our cellular health. What is the mitochondria doing? How much energy does it have? Can it perform? And so really looking at where in your body, which mostly happens upstream, right? Everyone hyper focuses on your lady bits. Well, your fertility starts in your brain. It starts in your pituitary, your penile, your hypothalamus. It works its way down through the endocrine system. You need good detox pathways. You need great gut health, because your gut is the master controller of all your nutrients. So if you're not getting any nutrients, even if you're eating a perfect diet, then nothing, else in your body can get that boost that it needs to do what it was designed to do. So really figuring out what the core issue is, where the disconnect is with fertility. I don't really like using the term infertility anymore. Most people are dealing with fertility issues. And if we can find that root cause, find the right path. So diet is going to be a huge one for everyone, no matter what your diagnosis is. Like I said, if you don't have gut health that can bring the nutrients into the rest of the body, then we're going to struggle to boost good egg quality, good uterine lining, healthy hormones. So it's really important to hone in on what's right for you. A lot of people get distracted by fad diets. And the truth is that if you can find what your food intolerances are right now, eliminate those to the best of your ability, and bring in a wide variety of diet, because that's what we're also missing in our culture, is that we are not getting enough variety, then you can massively improve your gut health with minimum testing, minimum supplementation, all the things that are kind of being thrown at us in functional medicine. Food can be a real natural healer. One of the biggest things that can shift most people's gut health, if they don't have an intolerance to it or if they don't have an ethical reason why they're not doing it, is simple foods like bone broth and organ meat. They will move the needle so far towards, in your favor if you really bring in the healing foods. And the only reason they're healing foods and they're magical is because most people just don't have them in their diet. So they're not getting that bioavailable elements that those foods have that really lack in other foods that we are consuming. So definitely diet's a huge one. And I think the other thing for fertility is mindset. Mindset and patterning. So most fertility issues, when you get into the journey, you will pattern the same way you were patterning before you even had fertility issues. Meaning being type A, being over controlling, being in victim mode, being in martyr mode. So you're just patterning the way that you were conditioned to through, various different ways, either society, your family, generations. And we come into this journey and we get this evidence, whether that be failed IVS, failed IVI or IUIs, not getting pregnant naturally, easily, or quickly. And I say that in air quotes because there's some kind of magical timeline that the industry has put on what quickly is and what quickly isn't. And then so all of a sudden you have this evidence that you're broken and that it's not working. And what we really need to understand in a fertility journey is that if we are having fertility issues, it's really our body. One way our body is saying, hey, this is a symptom. I have something going on here. I'm not capable of giving you what you need to grow another human being right now. Mm-hmm. So can we take some time and figure out what it is, heal, and then we can start the process in a new light, in a new mindset. And a lot of the times we start feeling time poor. And so we're in this rush and we have to beat the clock. Our biological clock is tick, 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 ticking. But no one wants to talk about what the difference between cellular age, what your cellular health is doing, and the number of birthday candles on your birthday cake.
Yeah. That's so true. And I think that nutrition is so important, and it is one of those things we can control. So like you said, focusing on the controllables is huge. So for me, it's funny because I was like a vegetarian/vegan leading up to our fertility journey, and I started to crave meat both times. So with our oldest, it was chicken. I was like, I just really am craving chicken. I haven't had it in years. So I baked myself a chicken and I ate it, and I ate the entire chicken breast and I felt amazing. And then with our second, I still had not eaten red meat until our second. I was pregnant with our second, and I was craving a steak. So I asked my husband to make me a steak, and same thing. I ate the entire thing. So it's wild to see which nutrients your body really needs and what it craves. But I told my acupuncturist about it, and he told me that you need to eat flesh and blood to make flesh and blood. And I was like, wow, that is primal. But it was also true. It's what my body needed. Have you heard of the book called Making Babies?
I've heard of that book.
Okay. So it's old school. It's like early 2000s, but the tips in there are so good. And it's all of the things that you can focus on. So really heavily on nutrition and stress management. How would you say that mindset and like manifesting plays into all of this too? Do you think it can be helpful?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go even a little bit deeper than mindset and manifestation. So most people are on autopilot. They're on this kind of default energy frequency. They're replaying emotions that they might not even know are stuck or are aware of. And so this is why I say you pattern the same way in your fertility journey. So when you get into more evidence in this physical world that things aren't working for you, or your body you might feel broken, you're not doing the things that women are naturally supposed to do, all those things, it's always taking a step back. Most people weren't born this way. You know, through the decades, we get to a certain point where your body is like, I've tried. Because your body is always healing. It's always trying to get back to homeostasis. But because we, don't treat ourselves the way that we should do in our teen years, in our 20s, and we don't have this information, and maybe we're not having big health issues, all of a sudden we get up to our late 20s or into our 30s, and we're having quote unquote fertility issues. Well, really, you're looking at, other issues that you've probably had, but just ignored, or your doctors told you that, well, that's just normal. Thyroid issues, gut health issues. A lot of women were put on birth control. You were having bad PMS, endometriosis, PCOS. And instead of tackling the root cause, so with emotions, I'm 44 now. I'm an 80s baby. I grew up in the time where, the boomers and the silent generation did not talk about emotions. Mm-hmm. I would say a large majority of us did not gain the knowledge of what emotions are, how to release emotions, how to process emotions. So many of us who are dealing with these physical issues, the real root cause is actually the emotional tie. You can say trauma, that is related, but not everything has to be super traumatic to be a stuck emotion or a stuck energy. And so it's not as simple as, well, just think positive or just say your affirmations. You have to take radical responsibility and be the ultimate observer in your life and say, what is my default pattern? What am I thinking 90% of my day? How am I moving? Am I moving really quick? Am I in anxiety? I don't have enough time for anything. It's really the frequency behind the doing, and it's really the emotion behind the belief. So if you don't take radical responsibility for that, it's harder to move through the journey to get to the ultimate goal. We know that you don't have to be perfect to get pregnant. We know that you don't even have to be healthy to get pregnant. But when we're not getting pregnant, using medical assistance, it's truly in our heart that we want a child, because no one would continue through this journey if it truly wasn't in their heart, because it is so heartbreaking and you feel like you're failing every month. Mm-hmm. It's time to get radically honest. How am I thinking? Am I over-identifying with my fertility issue, with my diagnosis? Am I playing the victim? Am I in victim mode? Like, why me? We all get handed a deck of cards. Most of us didn't ask to play this game. Most of us didn't ask for the cards we were handed. But then it's our choice to play the best hand that we have and start changing our cards. We know through epigenetics that we can switch on and off genes. We know through nervous system healing that we can radically change how we respond to different events and different triggers. We know with decreasing our stress, our cortisol levels will go down. We can get out of fight or flight. We know these things. And so with the overachievers, with the person who has collected more knowledge than they'll ever be able to use in life, how do we start applying that to our situation? How do we actually start living the knowledge instead of collecting more knowledge?
I think that's so powerful, just actually implementing all the things that you can that make sense for your life. I think it's easy to get overwhelmed and we're bombarded with information about all the things. So just being really strategic about it. How do you help your clients with the emotional and mental toll of fertility struggles? Because I think that's a huge piece of it too. Like you said, that feeling like you're failing every month.
Yeah. First, it's really getting radical and tell yourself that you're not fine. A lot of us just pretend that we're fine and that it's okay, we're strong, we're going to get through it. And first, it's giving ourselves permission to break down, to not be okay, to feel the anger, to feel the sadness, to feel the rage, the unfairness. And once we do that for ourselves and we can let go of grief is a huge emotion that we carry. Resentment is another huge one. And so once we can deal with those emotions first, then we can start applying the kind of new frequency we're going to move on with in this journey. It's the stories we tell ourselves, right? So a lot of people think that their past dictates their future. And so we have all this evidence of this is, not going to happen and all that. Well, we got to start telling ourselves a different story. So when you find yourself in that loop, repeating whatever story you have on repeat, whether it's your age, whether it's your diagnosis, whether it's the failures, the quote unquote, right, failures. When you catch yourself in that loop, you become the ultimate observer. You be very graceful with yourself and say, I honor what we went through, but it's time to live in a different story. We are now going to move through life. We're going to reclaim our joy. That's one of the biggest things I'm seeing out there in the field is that we have lost all sense of joy in our life during this journey. So finding really simple things like what set your soul on fire? Painting, roller skating, like it doesn't have to be long weekends in Bali or, waiting for the next acupuncture appointment. The magic is in the mundane. And if you can reclaim your mundane and with joy and with love and knowing that this has been put in your heart for a reason and you're going to continue to do the action steps, you're going to show up in diet. You're going to show up and get your rest and sleep. You're going to show up and do the exercise that you need. But you're also not going to micromanage your life anymore around the fertility struggle. You are going to bring the joy. You are going to bring love. You are going to work on the jealousy and the resentment. Because really, when we are holding on to those things, we're putting ourselves in lack. And it's harder to receive because there's no room for receiving. So everyone's comes to me very individually with where they start. Sometimes we have to deal with the physical and emotional and financial impact of fertility treatment. We start there and then we work backwards. Some people they've dealt with that and they're ready to move on from the wise me and reclaim their sovereignty and reclaim who they were always meant to be. A lot of high achievers, we have to reclaim your worth. We have to reclaim your self-love. And just get that radical honesty. Where are you patterning? What are you saying to yourself? What are you over-identifying with? And then we can start from there.
Okay, I love that so much. So if someone's listening right now and they feel like they've done all the things and they're still having a hard time, what are some of the things you would recommend that they would do first?
So make sure you're not doing a fad, that you're doing the right things for you. And diet is the biggest one. Make sure you're not over supplementing. That's a huge thing for the fertility industry. I mean, there is probably double, if not triple, fertility supplements than when I was doing this. You got to remember you can't out supplement your way from the inflammation. Making sure that this is the biggest thing is that you think you're doing all the right things, and like, I'm doing the acupuncture, I'm doing the yoga, I'm doing the diet, I'm doing all these things. But what frequency are you running full time? Because yes, the acupuncturist is going to do some great energy movement, but if you leave that appointment and start patterning the same way in that hyper overdoing mode, that energy is just going to come straight back. It's that's how the body works, right? You cannot just rely on 1 to 2 treatments a week to get rid of, all the BS that's contributing to the stuff in the first place. So just getting radically honest with yourself. And the other thing is time. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of trial and error, especially if you're not working with someone who knows what they're doing in all the areas. So you're going to feel like you're on this journey for so long, and you're doing it and you're doing it and doing it. Well, until you get into that alignment and that coherence, not perfection, right? We don't have to be perfect. You will need some time for your physical body to catch up. So you can't say like, oh, well, I've been doing this for 6 months. Why hasn't it worked? Well, you need 3 months for that inflammation to calm down in the first place. And then 3 more months for what, like, there's just some time that it needs to take to actually work. Your fertility can be one of the first things that your body shuts down because it doesn't need to survive. And it could be one of the last things that it kind of switches back on once everything else, has, working in that flow. So being graceful with yourself of like, okay, actually, I know I've been on this journey for a year, but really it's only been the last 2-3 months that I've stayed committed. I feel like I'm doing the right things, and I'm just going to be, okay, I've got it. I'm not going to squirrel. I'm not. And that's another thing that people do. They get the right information, and because it didn't work as quick as they wanted, they're like, okay, I'll try this and I'll try that. And they go off and they find something else, and then maybe they're not doing the right things for them anymore. So it's one of the hardest things to do in a fertility journey. It's probably one of the hardest, if you believe that you have lessons to learn during a fertility journey. But that ultimate surrender and trust that your body is on your side, that the timing is going to be perfect. And that's why you have to really look at the old patterns that have been maybe serving you. You got the career, you've got the house, you've got, the ultimate partner, you got all those things, but might not serve you in the next phase of this journey for your fertility.
I love that. I think that nervous system is just so important too. And so many women are just so stressed. They're running from a bear all day long. So it's like, of course, your fertility is going to be the first thing to drop off because your body doesn't feel safe right now. So you have to tell it, I'm safe, I'm fed, I'm nourished, I'm calm, I'm peaceful. Like, you cannot be a spaz and run around like crazy and expect. I think it's just so inflammatory in general. Any healing process, it's so much harder to heal if you're feeling stressed about it and negative and worrying about it all the time. I just think that that's super important that you mentioned that. As far as like fertility advice that we see all over the internet, what are some red flags that you see? And you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe people are talking about this.
The biggest one that gets me is age. That they have put the number of birthday candles in front of cellular health. It's pretty much the biggest lie. I've seen fertility doctors, IVF doctors tell you not to delay treatment because that one egg could go in 6 months. And, they're very smart in what they do, but they've been taught one way. And a lot of that information is old junky 80 science. So the whole fear factor around age and the timeline is probably the biggest thing that catches women out. And it's one of the hardest things to come to terms with. Like you are going to age. You're going to have a birthday every single year. But there is a difference between your cellular health. I would have no issues getting pregnant at 44 when I couldn't get pregnant at 27. And I couldn't get pregnant with medical assistance at 30. So to me, that's a huge red flag. And it's a bold-faced lie. Anything, if someone's, just pushing supplements, that's a big red flag. Like I said, you can't out supplement the inflammation. It's just not going to work. A lot of fertility clinics push a lot of supplementation. A fad diet, any diet that is like this is for fertile friendly, is a big red flag. There's no perfect fertility diet out there for anyone. We're all so different, and that's what keeps a lot of people stuck. That's great that you followed your intuition and what your body was craving. Yes, there's belief systems that I respect, and I understand why people eat a certain way sometimes, but that doesn't make it necessarily right for the woman's body and hormones, let alone fertility. Anyone promising results, I think, is a big red flag. Even IVF clinics. I saw there's this new app or something saying if you don't get a baby, you get your money back. That kind of like that's
Ew.
a big red flag. Yeah.
Yes. Ew.
Yeah. No one can promise you results. That's just not how the universe, how God works. It's, and I wouldn't even say it's up to you and putting that pressure on, like it's down to you. It is down to your ability to get in coherence and bring joy back into your life. You don't have to be perfect. You do have to fix your cellular health issue. But just know that your ultimate joy, the love, the worthiness, the baby's just the cherry on top. A lot of people think that motherhood is going to fix a lot of issues, and if they just can be a mother. As someone who waited 8 years to get her 2 kids, I had 20 years experience in early education. I was supposed to be Mary Poppins. I can tell you, with raw honesty, that I found motherhood very hard because I didn't realize I was patterning low self-worth, low self-love. I was seeking my worth out of doing. It was hard for me to be present with my kids and even play, because I felt like, well, if I don't get the dishes and the laundry and make $2,000 today, I'm not worthy, right? So just know that this journey is an opportunity to really go within. I know when you're in the thick of it, the worst thing to hear, is that you get to choose. You get to choose how you define your story at the end of it. And if you can be proud of yourself at the end of the journey, with or without a child, then you won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that so much. And what a beautiful mission to have as a human, whether you are dealing with fertility issues or not, just focusing on your mindset and your self-worth and how you're going about every day and your ability to be present and to enjoy and not feel like you always have to be 3 steps ahead. And I love that you mentioned the age thing too, because I feel like I turned 40 this year. I'm like, I would be such a different new mom now because I've healed so much. I'm such a different person. I would have so much more patience because I did the same thing. I'm like, I feel like I wasted years when they were babies because I was so stressed about all of the doing. And everyone's like, oh, enjoy it. It goes so fast. it goes so fast. Like my oldest is going to be 14 this year. So I think it's amazing that women are getting pregnant later because you have so much wisdom and you have healed so much as a human.
Yeah, absolutely. My fertility struggles was probably the greatest gift I was given. And I've chosen to believe that. Obviously, I've made it up, but I've chosen that for myself because it gave me the conscious awareness. And this is why I say I help create conscious mamas, is because even though I didn't have it all figured out, and yeah, there's not regrets, but hindsights.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I was conscious enough to know that when it didn't feel right, I started to make shifts in motherhood. And you just need the consciousness and the willingness to get curious of like, hey, that doesn't feel good. That's not right. I would like to fix it. And then, you get really in tune with your intuition and your discernment, and you need that more than ever in this lifetime, not only for you, but for your children, especially going into AI and, everything that, we're going to be facing in the future. They can't take away your intuition and your discernment. And so you get to make decisions for your family and for yourself that, can be life or death. And, or, for me, if I would have really just pushed without, I had to fix my health to even get good eggs, right? I wasn't making good eggs, and therefore we weren't making good embryos. So I had no choice. I couldn't push through IVF and it would magically work. It would have never worked for me unless I fixed my health. But because I was forced to do that and I took on that challenge, I reduced the risks of my children having health issues later in life. I've reduced my risks of, if I would have kept going the way I was going, I would have definitely had a full autoimmune thyroid issue, been on medication. I have friends who are my age who have dealt with cancer, had their bowels removed, their liver removed, it really stopped me from the path of, destruction. That your body will eventually just be like, I'm done. I can't do anymore. So taking this time of whatever health journey that you're on and reframing it, going back to the mindset piece and saying, okay, this is my opportunity to look somewhere that I haven't possibly looked before. My body's telling me something. Am I going to listen? And taking the steps to do that, I don't think you would never not thank yourself for pausing and healing either physically or emotionally.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And then any type of symptom in the body or diagnosis, I feel like that's the fire alarm, but where's the fire? So find out where the fire is and try to calm it down. So the title of the podcast is Healthy in Real Life. What's something that you do in your own routine to create a consistent, sustainable, healthy lifestyle for yourself?
Man, I have so many now. I've been doing this for 15 years, so
Yes.
I have a lot of non-negotiables. But the one thing that I continuously do for myself is I still consume organ meat and bone broth for the collagen, for the healthy gut, for longevity. And I just think that it's just non-negotiable now for my age. Hopefully it will help with the wrinkles, like there could be some cosmetic benefits.
Totally. Yes. Do you do the capsules or do you actually like cook the organ meats?
I do both. So when I'm home and I have my routine, it's really easy to find ground beef with the organ meats already in it. So there's kind of no excuse. When I lived in the UK, the butcher used to like ground it in for me. I don't have problem touching liver, so I can make my own because it's a little bit cheaper if you just buy the organ meat and ground it into the ground beef and hide it. But when I travel, I can see the noticeable difference even when I'm eating healthy, when I don't have it and when I do have it with my digestion. So yeah, it's just, especially when you're living in this world, I'm not perfect. There's things that I'll eat that I know aren't, clean or whatnot. But I lived so strict for so long that I think I've figured out with the energetic side and with the foods that, I don't like to say, but boost the stuff, that I can be a little bit more flexible, and the organ meat and the broth is a game changer.
Okay, good to know. And so where can listeners find you, work with you? I know you also have a podcast, so please shout out all the places they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm finding fertility everywhere. And if you have made it to the end of this podcast, thank you very much for sticking around. Yay! So I have two things for you. One, first, I want everyone to leave a review for you and just thank you for having me on. And if this podcast, which I know it has, giving you one piece of knowledge in your life, leaving a review is just like one way to say thank you. But if you're interested in, the frequency and the energetic work that I do, I have a special offer for anyone listening, whether or not you're dealing with fertility issues. And if you DM me on Instagram or TikTok, or even email me with the word dreams, I'll send you a special link where you can get a free 30-minute mini session that I can show you what I do with my one-to-one clients and really help find the holes in your journey. I'm kind of like your radical BFF,
Yes.
which sometimes we all need a little bit of tough love and a point down the right direction. And for anyone else who just wants to, understand the 6 essential steps more, there's a freebie. And I think that link is findingfertility.com/free dreams, but I'm sure it will be down in the show notes for easy access.
Yes, perfect. So I'll have all of those in the show notes. You guys can find Monica and connect with her and learn from her. Thank you so much for being here today and for all of these amazing tips and words of wisdom.
Thanks for listening to the Healthy in Real Life podcast. For more info, check out Gina's blog at fitnessista.com.